updates on, they're looking at calendar year, fiscal year. After their third final year, the state has to go back and reevaluate whether they need to adjust the contribution rates or modify the plans, and they may. I don't know. I don't know if they anticipated a 15% increase this year from where they were coming from,
No,
but, so,
they thought actuarially it's double what they thought it
well,
was.
there's also been claims by people in the know that they've been burning reserves over the years. They need all the healthy bodies back in the state plan to
Yep.
flatten their loss ratio, because typically it is the plan of last resort.
Correct.
Or if you're a small district, it's hard to be insured by a private carrier or a private plan. But it's just where we're at. Yes.
Does this apply to all new teachers to the district or just new teachers to like the pension system? So if we were to hire somebody that transferred over from Howell, would they be subjected to this as well, even if they're coming in at a higher salary?
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, it's not the individual's fault. It's just
No, I just
what
wondered.
the
I
state,
didn't know if it was-
yeah, it's, if I left and went to another district, I would have to go to the new plan
Gotcha.
as well.
Staying after 7 years?
Yeah, I believe it's 7 years. And then I don't know what happens after 7, because we're only 3 in, or 2.5. I think then you can negotiate. I'd have to go back and read the law again.
So for newer board members, new to the budget cycle, to understand, with the state cap on your budget increase at 2% of your total budget, if every line item in your budget only increased by 2% each year, you're good. You just move right along. Every line item that's in excess of 2%, which includes, like in our district, salaries alone, because our bargaining unit salaries are above 2%. The money that you're allocating to that salary line above 2% has to come from it somewhere else in your budget. And so, and that's always worked. You know, people work, they deserve to be paid. You know, we've always believed in whatever fair compensation, but every line item above 2%, that money's coming from somewhere else. So when we went self-insured and we tried to limit the hemorrhage on the healthcare costs, that allowed us to put money in other line items in excess of 2%, because as long as you net out to 2%, you're okay. Where you put it in your individual line items is where it makes a difference in running your day-to-day operations. 2% on our budget is about what, 1.6? 1.7
The
now?
tax levy is 1.3.
Right. So when a change in the law now is costing this district 1.5, and we haven't given anybody their raises or any other increase, it's a significant hole. It requires this board to think a little differently about everything we do moving forward. And Bob will guide us, ever so happy to be at the helm during this time.
I've seen worse.
Right. We've lived through healthcare, when we started negotiating with our bargaining units, when was that, Mike, 10 years ago?
2010, 2011.
We were having 20% increases in the cost of healthcare. So when your healthcare cost line is going up by 20%, 18% of whatever that cost line is, you're making up in other parts of your budget. So by negotiating different contribution rates and going self-insured, we brought that line down to where it needed to be so we could put the money where it should go, whether it's salaries and student services and extra buses, special education teachers, whatever it takes. So this is a bit of a blow that I don't know that the state legislators truly understood the impact it was going to have on a lot of districts, especially like ours.
And I will say it's not for lack of our administration trying to convey that message. 'Cause
No, we've conveyed that message loud and clear. And we saw it coming. We said it last year. I said it last year. Bob said it last year. I'm like, we looked at the law, we looked at the numbers, I looked at our district, knew what we had, knew where we could go, and we're like, this is going to cost us $1.5 million. And here we are. You always kind of hope it wasn't going to be true, but now that it is, you're like, whatever. The one time I really am not happy to say I told you so, but
And what'll be tough too is that, you've got the regional going through the same issue with health benefits,
Mm-hmm.
plus I mean, they just went self-insured as well. They're in their first year in. But
Right.
Also, they're still dealing with S2.
Right.
So,
So, it'll be
and like I
interesting.
said, 54 hands went up of who's going to try to go for a tax levy cap extension because people will qualify for it this year. All 54 hands went up.
So for our taxpayers, because as you know, our job as board members is twofold, to provide the best we can to our students, but be prudent for the taxpayers. The taxpayers in this district, it's almost like a perfect storm for them because the largest part of the property tax is the school tax. So now you have schools like ours that are going to have a significant budget increase through no fault of our own. It's not like we're buying brand new technology for the students, like for 1.5 million. In addition to their home values going up exponentially, which usually people are happy about if you're selling. But if you're not selling, your increase in home value results in an increase in taxes combined now with an increased tax rate. It's like a trifecta of everything hitting the taxpayer all at once. And those taxpayers that are starting to feel it, just based on their new assessment, based on their home value, are already reaching out to us, and they don't even know this part of it. And they're not here right now, so they still don't know this part of it. But it could be prepared. I'm just telling you as board members, be prepared to be very well versed in the tax valuations of this town, how they work, where they've come from, where they're going, and why they're going where they're going.
And they're still doing the reevaluation every year program. that
Well,
they
the
create.
tax base increase is going to help us
The tax
because
rate's
it's
looking
huge. I mean, people's
$1 billion.
tax, the tax base is estimated to go up $1 billion.
So while the tax rate looks like we're
Right.
tentatively to go down like
Down.
9%, almost 10%, people are still paying more taxes because their assessed
Yeah.
value.
Right.
You know, I said to Michelle and I've said to central office, where I live, we've got these shore properties that cure all the burdens because while my value of my home might go up $150,000, $200,000, theirs went up $1 million. And so it cures all my ills at least, but
Yeah.
for them,
Right.
it's,
I mean, we had the mall that
Yeah.
helped us out a little bit, but where that mall's going, I don't
they're
know.
probably fighting.
Yeah.
They're still, he
They're still
serves
worse.
on the Alliance, so the guy who manages them all.
Yeah.
I forget his name is gonna escape me. But he says that they're investing big time. They're bringing in some kind of brewery, like they're,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's hope.
Bob, do we have any bank capitalization?
So we do, so for the 21-22 year budget, because we were in the middle of COVID and we had so much one-time money flowing through because we're with healthcare, the board only took 0.8% of the 2% we could take for the tax levy cap. So we've got 800,000 and change there. And tentatively, based upon my calculations right now, we've got another $350,000 that will qualify due to the healthcare exemption that they have. And the way that it works is if the board takes any of it, you have to take the current one, the healthcare first, and then you take the bank cap second. So all in all, it looks like right now I'm projecting about $1.1 million.
What causes the gap?
That and some of the things that we'll discuss that we're gonna have to do differently to start. I've got a budget that's in balance right now if we take some of that bank cap. Without it, we're gonna have to come back and in the next couple of weeks, figure out what else to
That
cut.
plus the reassessment increase could close it also, right?
Yeah, the
Still
assessments,
money.
yeah, it's, these assessments,
Yeah.
If you get to 800 and then you have another 300, you're at 1.1.
Yeah. What will help us going forward to some degree will be once all these new properties, especially the single family homes are built and we start to get, our enrollment starts to go up because then as long as they continue to fund it on a per pupil basis, state aid will go up and there will be years, typically the way that the formula works is every other year you'll qualify for a small enrollment increase, tax levy waiver. But just the way it's a weird formula.
So we're banking on these. We're like a Ponzi scheme.
But
We're
at the
like banking
bottom
on
of the day, though,
the
it's still,
fresh blood.
it's still coming out of the property taxpayer, so that's where
Yeah.
my concern is at some point in time, it's, it's gonna be, this meets that, it's, I've said for a long time, when Sean was here, we talked about always at some point in time, there's gonna be, you'll have to make difficult choices based on what's mandated in code and what's not. And
Right.
it's gonna pit group against group, and it's not what you want, but I've seen it happen in my own hometown, because they're an S2 district. It's,
Yeah.
well, code says this for this class, but that class, your fourth grade class, you're at 30, you know?
Right.
So that's where
Right.
we're at. But I just wanted to make everyone aware, so that at least you're prepared when we start our conversation next week.
Thank you.
And what you'll see Bob referred to, we shared it with some of the board, but it's been shared and it is public knowledge that we're expecting 440 units of varied types in the township in the next 2 to 5 years, and then 5 to 8 years, 660 new units. So that's the new taxpayers that would be here. And also, which we'll share more in depth during the budget presentation, our preschool, I wanted to mention this before, it was hovered at 100 at the most over time, 90, 100. We're at 123. And just through students, children aging in from early intervention at 3 years old, by the end of June, we're expecting another 20 students. That's the biggest we've ever been. Huh. Carrie asked if we have space for them. Carrie said, do we have space? The answer is that we have sat down and we are managing on a regular basis enrollment projections. So for this year, yes, the class size by the end of this year will be higher than typical, than what we're used to. But as you'll hear during the budget, we have a plan for next year to address that proactively. But for this year, we just can't open another class logistically. It would have to go to another school. We'd have to move kids from ECLC to another school away from their teacher, right? It's just not a good.
I'm saying,
Good for
so
children.
about if we're gonna go up to about 140 students by June,
And Neil,
and we're still having kids walking off the street too, in addition to your projections.
Besides EI projections, which we now have through the end of the school year, we have them through June. Yes, we are also seeing parent referrals for those children who are of age that the parents are requesting an evaluation, and we're also having move-ins. We, once again, in this past month, we have a significant number of move-ins of students, not only at ECLC, but who would qualify for our special class programs, who are coming with one-to-one paras, which is a significant impact upon the budget as well. But as we've said for years, since I got here, one of the first things I heard is people move here for the schools, and a lot of people move here for the special programs, do their research and know what we can offer here. So we are seeing that once again. And you'll hear more about that in the budget presentation too.
Did I turn it up? How flexible or how rigid are the premiums involved for the insurance?
because we're self-insured, we can set premiums where we like, but we take the advice of our broker who talks to the actuaries to, I could sit here and make a foolish decision and say, yeah, we're gonna cut premiums 5%. And then, as I just said before, Ms. Calzano asked a question, I saw my weekly draw go from 250 to 350 on average in the last year. So I work closely with the broker on this, and we watch the trend. We see where our numbers are on a weekly basis. We aggregate them over a period of time. They talk to their people, and the last conversation was 6, and that's right after we said 5 in November. I'm looking at the data for the year. I'm like, yeah, it's trending higher. I don't think 5's gonna do it. So there's flexibility. In the old days when we were with Horizon as a private plan, but we weren't self-insured, they dictated us and we had to negotiate with them. And that was never good because whether they win or lose that year, they always win in the end in terms of what they collect from you. So eventually we have some flexibility, but we want to do what's proper budgeting.
So, because you mentioned that the costs are going up by 15 or 30%?
No, what
The state
so
plan.
the state plan, the people that are in the state health benefits plan, they got a 15 change percentage increase for January 1. They're on a calendar year, not fiscal year like we are. We're at 6, but what I said is we've got 35% of our people in this new mandated plan from the state, which has a different, it's a very expensive plan, and the contributions are much less than what our required agreement has, and that's what a problem. So
Is that flexible at all as far as increasing their premiums? No.
And the way it works too, is that all the contracts are closed. I mean, we do have negotiations, so we'll start with the TWU, but that's such a small bargaining. You run the risk of, if you negotiate something different on your other existing plans, where we still have 235 people in Direct 15, you might chase them all into the new plan, and then your problem's going to be even worse. So. Always the bearer of good news, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so with that, we will move into our first opportunity for public participation. This board offers public participation 2 times during the meeting. The first time addresses items that are on the agenda being voted on tonight. The second time is for anything you'd like to address with the board. So for this first opportunity for public participation on agenda items, if anyone wishes to address the board, please write your name and address on the sign-in sheet and state your name for the record. Statements are limited to 3 minutes and shouldn't be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature. Would anybody like to address the board on agenda items this evening? Nope. Okay, so at this point, we'll move into the SSID public hearing. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education shall open the public hearing on the SSDS report for period 1 for the school year 2022-2023. So are there any public comments regarding the SSDS report that Neil read earlier? Okay, seeing none, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education shall close the public hearing on the SSDS report, reporting period 1 for school year 2022-2023. And with that, we will move right into our Personnel Committee. Ms. O'Sullivan?
Okay, we met as a committee. People in attendance were Dr. Berthauer, Neil Gargiulio, Meg Thuman, and myself. We discussed the items on the agenda. I would like to move number 3, the resignations as listed. 4, position control as listed. New employment as listed. Extended change long-term assignment as listed. Long-term substitutes as listed. Change of assignment and salary adjustment as listed. Change of assignment as listed. Salary adjustments as listed. Leave of absence as listed. Unpaid days as listed. District honoraria update as listed. District honoraria as listed. PTO honoraria as listed. District mentors as listed. Additional compensation update as listed. Certified substitutes as listed. And non-certified substitutes as listed. And that is all.
Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, roll call. Oh, I need a second. I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Mrs. Brand? Okay, thank you. Mrs. Coslino?
I am going to say yes, but I'm going to have to abstain on number 14.
Mr. Gargiulo?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Spelman? Mrs. Vinatoli?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain on number 16.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Amoroso?
Yes.
Mrs. Lambert?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Finance, Facilities, and Transportation Committee, Ms. Vendatoli?
You're going to skip?
Oh, skip curriculum, sorry. I'm joking, I'm like, yes, sorry. Curriculum, sorry, Mary.
It must be because we did not meet tonight.
Yes.
You knew that. I'm going to move number 2, home instruction, number 3, student teacher practicum observation placements as listed.
Any questions? A second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now finance, facilities and transportation. I'm sorry, which one? 14. 14. We're gonna hold 14 for executive session. We may come back and readdress it after. Okay, so don't move it just yet.
Finance, facilities, and transportation, we did not meet tonight. We're gonna move our agenda items. Michelle, you did the bills?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mrs. Lambert, for doing the bills. Number 2, bills and claims in the amount of $3 million. I'm sorry, total bills, $763,737.40. Payroll in the amount of $2,241,313.27, for a total of $3,005,050.67. Number 3, travel and related expenses as listed. Number 4, transfers as listed. Number 5, consultant as listed. Number 6, donations as listed. Thank you. To Adult and Pediatric Dental Studio and the Laura Donovan PTO. Number 7, honoraria as listed at Donovan Elementary School. Thank you to the Donovan PTO. Number 8, honoraria Eisenhower Middle School. Thank you to Eisenhower Middle School PTO. Number 9, out-of-district contracts as listed. Number 10, disposals is listed. Number 11, disposal of surplus property gov deals as listed. Number 12, competitive contracting for FSMC as listed. Number 13, cooperative pricing agreement for MOAS as listed, and we're holding number 14.
Does anybody have any questions? May I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 I need to abstain on number 5.
Bob, I need to abstain on number 5 as well.
All right, now, we do have an executive session waiting for us, so not going to make any president's remarks or old business or new business, except if there's anybody who wishes to alert the board of anything going on in the buildings that we should know about, any upcoming concerts, anything you want to share with anybody?
The way that we've been doing it, I hope is effective, and if you have any suggestions, please let us know. But we've been filled in the same way, I think you were all included on emails from the schools with their newsletters that they send to parents. In those newsletters are all the dates of evening and events that are during the day. If you're interested in attending any, you're more than welcome. We just ask that you email the principal of the school so that they know you're coming. In some places, depending on what the event is, they'll save a parking spot or they'll save a seat for you. Just let them know if you're interested in coming. But they are in all of the newsletters. We feel that if that seems to be working well even for us. If it's not for you, let us know and we'll come up with a different way.
No, I think it is. I think that we've had several board members attend different events, where they can in the evening. So I do think it's working.
And the
so far.
administrators have also been emailing first. Like Katina had their read aloud last week.
Yes,
I know they
above
emailed.
that.
Donovan just sent out an invitation, so we were getting emails like that as well for this
Yes.
special event.
Mhm.
And kudos to what is happening in the classroom and with these special events.
Yes.
This wild
Wild robot.
robot
I love
book,
it. Yeah.
it seems like the whole district is wild about it.
Yeah.
The kids are enjoying the activities, our staff members are involved and participating. It really is
We're
a
loving
great
the
night.
Scavenger hunts to Dunkin' Donuts. And
Yes.
Freeze and
Yes.
Oreos.
That robot eats well.
Post office was good, but it's back to Dunkin' this week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
excited. I
think it's difficult to bring together such a large town, and this project really did it, and it's been amazing to see kids all around town, all the different schools, all participating in this learning and adventure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're having as well, not just the kids, we're having fun too.
I have one question. When it comes to doing ad journals, like for, I think Pippin's coming up at Eisenhower, does the board typically do one for those schools or those events, or how does that work?
I didn't hear you.
They do like a page, like great job, Board of Ed. We don't typically do that. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, so at this point, we'll move on to public participation of any type. Is there anybody who would like to address the board on any item this evening? If you'd like, please state your name for the record, write your name and address on the sign-in sheet, and statements should be limited to 3 minutes, should not be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature.
Yeah, it should be.
Use the microphone because that's, yes, that's what goes through the.
You want me to pick this up?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. My name's Carmela Spieler. I live in Freehold, 20 Langford Drive. Sorry.
Okay.
Hold it closer. Just a little
Just put it
closer.
on the podium. Yeah, that would help too, right? So I just wanted to address two possible curriculum topics. I know in a day when we're all concerned about the curriculum of 2020 that's being rolled out and many oppose this curriculum, I'd like to see the district go back to some of the basics like reading, writing, math, and other skills, which leads me to my concern. As an educator, I was really upset when the district removed the middle school career and technical courses such as technical courses. Kids have way too much screen time as it is, and I see the values in these courses. Even as a mom, my son, like when you get to the high school level, sometimes they steer those kids away from those courses, and this is the only opportunity that they'll ever get. So I would like and hope that the district, I'd like to know what you all think about possibly bringing that back. And then the other thing, as an educator, I'm also very disappointed that the curriculum for handwriting and cursive has gone away. And I would love to see that come back as well. And that I believe that students will never have the opportunity to read original documents because we've taken this away. And I even personally surveyed my own students, and only about 12 out of 80 of my students in 3 classes of block scheduling, only 12 of them had some form of ability to read or write the cursive writing, and it's such a low number. And I would like to personally know how each board member would feel about either all or any of these courses. If you could respond to that, I'd appreciate that.
Before the board members respond, we have, those courses were cut for budget needs a long time ago, based upon a bill that went through and disseminated the school, not disseminated, dismantled the school district budget. So that was a budgetary decision, but we have recently reevaluated middle school related arts. And while those courses haven't been reinstituted, we have looked at courses that are not computer-based, but more STEM-based. So we've added and piloted design and modeling. We're looking to add robotics, animation. So we are looking to make it more broad and robust, but not necessarily back to what it was prior, but we are looking to expand it and are expanding it.
Those courses are cheaper than something like wood shop and food courses, which is a life skill.
They are cheaper and actually more relevant at this time for potential future careers in what the students are looking at in that career and technical education area.
And aligned with standards.
And align right with standards. As far as cursive, I did state at another board meeting that by the end of this year, beginning of next year, we would reconsider where that may fit in the curriculum. It's not a standard in New Jersey, but we heard the concern and we said that we would take the time prior to the next school year to reevaluate if and how we can implement that. No, cursive wouldn't, no. But I think you were being specific to cursive, but just to be clear, we do have a handwriting program that we use in our schools to introduce handwriting in the primary grades. It's not cursive, but we have it.
Because they can't, I said, it's like writing in code, writing in notes, and I was like, you read this, you tell a teacher what I need to say, or I think that I was writing.
Thank you. Would anybody like to address the board? Anybody else? Any other comments? Okay. Okay. Ms. Spieler asked how each individual board member felt, on understanding that during public participation, you are not required to answer or encouraged to answer. You can email back and forth, but if somebody wanted to answer her this evening, I have no problem with it. This- Cursive, yeah. Martin.
I'm a fan. I mean, I like to write in it. I would like to see our kids do it, but I do understand, you know, logistics and reasoning. But I am happy that we're going to explore it.
I'm a fan.
Me too.
I will tell you personal experience. I was horrified. About a month ago, my daughter is an exceptional student, and I needed her to sign something. And she didn't know how to sign her name. And I was like, what do you mean? You're in high school. You can't sign your name? And it was like, just made like a little mark on the paper and then went back to using her device. So I was horrified by that personally. And I think somehow, some way, without being obsessive with teaching cursive, like, you know, I'm practicing and drawing 20 sheets in every class, but some way, even maybe through our related arts or somehow, we could maybe get the kids to work on at least signing their name, learning how to read cursive. I'm a big fan of somehow getting that done. I do agree with that. And my other daughter made a cutting board in wood shop that I still use to chop my onions on. Although she became a nurse and her math skills were lacking a little bit. I'm wondering if maybe, I don't know, she shouldn't have been a wood shop. Maybe she should have been doing something else. But, and listen, I'm a cabinet guy, so I own a cabinet store. You can't say I'm biased against wood shop, but I love wood shop.
I'd like to say a little bit about this. I had already said about cursive, bringing it back. When I was in the business world and there was an incident, a HIB, I had to ask the people that were involved, could you please write what happened? First of all, none of them that I dealt with, and it was years of this, could write, and they barely could print. So I'm a big fan of making the person a rounded student. And cursive is part of a life skill, in my opinion. Thank you.
I would second that opinion also, because as a volunteer in the Board of Elections, I have come across, sadly, many people who were not able to sign their names for an election. And that's horrific. In today's day and age, we emphasize technology and we emphasize science, which science is important, but technology does not override life skills like woodshop and knowing how to read cursive. It develops a certain part of your brain that is not available in typing or in computer skills. So I'm a big, big fan of that. I've stood on that even during my election. Thank you.
News about ChatGPT, and there have been some discussions that children, to make sure that their work is authentic, will have to be writing it again, kind of old school way we used to have to do. So I do think that that is something to consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am going to echo what a lot of people have said. I do believe that cursive has a purpose in terms of being, a literate person who can read documents, who can sign their name. And I would, if we can incorporate it somehow, maybe not, like you said, Mike, not like we were drilled, but in some form. I mean, I have a son who does that. He incorporates it himself. He's an artist. He practices letter writing. Like, that's his thing. So I do think there might be a related arts way. I also want to say that what we are doing as a parent of a sixth grader going through the related arts program now in the middle school, I really like the direction this district is going in. That STEM class was, and I know it's not called that, but that's essentially what it is. It's kind of like an engineering and design class that was very hands-on, that was very collaborative. Those are the skills that these kids are going to need to know. I am not a big advocate of computers. Anybody who's sitting on this board knows that. Is it part of their future? Absolutely, 100%. So, I think, and I've seen over the past few years more balance in that, like in terms of the STEM class, in terms of the hands-on learning, in terms of the project-based learning that we are doing as a district. And I do think that that is very positive.
I just want to say one other thing regarding the related arts in the middle school. From a special education standpoint, I feel that they are much more inclusive now to our special education students. STEM, design, engineering, that is a lot of, like Lego building. It really encompasses and includes a lot more of our kids than just art, music, and chorus did previously. And I think it's a great chance for them not to only open their horizons, but it's also a great chance for inclusion for a lot of our middle school students who are in a self-contained type program like LLD to have more time with their gen ed peers and also find an interest that some of these kids may not be going off to college either. And it will help them, once they get to the high school and they can do their DVR, they can do their, through the vote check and everything like that. I think it's a great starting point for a lot of our kids.
I guess I'll be the last one to speak on this topic. Absolutely, we should incorporate cursive into our curriculum at some point. I'm using it right now, even though I have a computer open in front of me. But I will kind of bring up one topic or one thing that we do have students in the district that have special needs. There's students with dysgraphia. We can't really force it to them, because knowing what I know about dysgraphia, it would be like teaching a kid, with dysgraphia, a foreign language. So again, it should be offered, yes. They should have the ability to learn it, but to have it as a standard, like, again, the way Mike brought it back, the way we were taught it, it would be very difficult for those students that have those needs. They're used to voice to text in some of their cases, and just being able to write as best as they possibly can. I would be concerned about those type of students with learning cursive as like I said, it would be like teaching them a foreign language. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. What's this? Yes,
Yeah.
you may. Wait,
You
have
gotta
to
go
stand
there.
If you hit,
Come on, Dan. You know the
Yes.
drill. You've
Yeah.
done this before.
Shortcuts.
We can't have spelling anarchy.
yeah.
It's not working.
Here, you want to take this one?
It's not getting recorded either.
What? What?
Some details from the honorarium connected to cooking.
Say what? Mhm. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And some of the PTOs, after-school activities incorporate some of those, cooking, yeah,
Yep.
like, there's a lot. Mhm. Right.
We do have a winter enrichment program.
Right. During winter, during winter enrichment.
Walk yourself
Yeah,
right into,
Yeah,
you walk yourself right into 10 meetings a night.
okay. Would anybody else like to address the board from the public? Okay. Seeing none, I want to thank our large crowd for staying. No. Anyone who came out this evening. We do have an executive session this evening. So I'd like a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move.
So whereas pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, the Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting at which the board discusses any of the matters described at NJSA 10-4-12B 1 through 9. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the provision of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Board of Education shall conduct a closed session pursuant to the personnel and legal exceptions prescribed by NJSA 10-4-12 for the purposes of discussing a personnel grievance and a pending or anticipated settlement agreement the board has. It is anticipated the length of time of this executive session will be 90 minutes, and that action may be taken in public after the executive session ends. Be it further resolved that said discussion may be disclosed to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon it in closed session no longer exist. So we've moved. Can I have a second to go into executive session? And are we going into a different room? Okay. 302? Okay, so we will